So the last thing we're going to talk about related to this project assignment is basically just how to bring everything together. So you should have created all your graphs from your data. You should have created all of your, or found all your descriptive statistics. And now we're going to bring it all together and make it look a little bit nicer. So um, if we go back, and actually I want to go back to graphs in Google because I want a new Google Doc. Okay, so if we go to Google Doc, we can title this whatever we want. So I'm just going to say project. Actually, we'll be a little more specific, I think. It's always good to have a specific title. So bowling scores, descriptive statistics, I think is a good title. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put all our graphs. So we just take our graph from Google. We'll copy this part. I just use Control C, or you can right click, and then we paste. And then it says link to spreadsheet. And what that does is if you change something in the spreadsheet later, it changes on this. I personally like that, but notice how the table just gets automatically nicely pasted in here. Okay, and then you should write a sentence or two about it. So this, you can say the frequency distribution summarizes a bowling scores data set, and then say something interesting about it. And for example, the most common scores were between, it looks like 170 and 193, because that's far above the rest, right? But you might say something else. You might say, like, there's several things you could say. Like I'd say a third of the scores were between 170 and 193. Only 2 scores of 15 people got above 240 or something like that, or 242. There's several things you can say. So write a sentence or two about what that graph is telling you. And we'll do this for all of them. So for bowling scores, we can copy the chart. I just do Control C, go back, and again you can link to spreadsheet, and there's our lovely thing. And we can say the histogram summarizes bowling scores, and then we can say something like two 42 to 265 is the least common bowling score. The histogram visually shows the data is skewed right. And you should definitely always say what the shape of your data is for the histogram. All right, and we can do this for the Polygon 2 or the Ogive. I'm not going to show you. You just copy and paste it in. You should have another graph as well besides the chart and the histogram. All right, so that's the graphs, and we also need the descriptive statistics, and that's pretty simple because what we can do is we can just copy this guy here. Oops, I did not want to do that. It's much better. Okay, and then go back to bowling scores, and I'm going to go to the next page. Again, we can link to spreadsheet, and it says all my statistics and stuff. Okay. And I want you to give something you thought was interesting about this. For example, to me it's interesting that most bowling scores are between or are within 50 of 170. Because 50 is the standard deviation, or 48, and 170 is the mean. I rounded to the nearest tens place, but so that's something that you can say. But say a couple of things that you think are interesting. Like, what do you think is interesting about the data set that you think is worth it, worth noting? All right, and then you can take this, save it, and then turn it in on Canvas. All right, and that's it.